Plenty of wars have been fought over completely unnecessary reasons. But these three might be some of the silliest. As soon as you hear what some people are willing to fight over, you'll be glad we live in a time where at least political leaders know what they're doing, right? First up was the utterly unnecessary Pig War. Yep, you heard me right. One pig nearly led to a full-scale conflict between the United States and Great Britain. Let's set the scene. It's 1859, and we're on San Juan Island, a small piece of land between the United States and Vancouver Island. On the island, you have American settlers and British employees of the Hudson's Bay Company, both claiming the island's fertile soil. Now, let's talk about that infamous pig. On June 15, 1859, an American farmer named Lyman Cutler spotted a British-owned black boar rooting through his potato patch. Cutler, being the protective farmer that he is, decided to gun down the pig, and that's when things went left. The argument over the dead hog increased tensions between the American and British settlers, and Cutler was threatened with arrest. But the Americans weren't having it, and they reported the incident to the military. Things continued to escalate until the British had a fleet of heavily armed naval ships off the US coast. Everyone stepped down once they realized how unnecessary this whole fight really was. But it just goes to show that sometimes you just have to prove a point. Next up, we have the War of the Stray Dog. It's the midst of a long-standing feud between Greece and Bulgaria. The tension between these two nations had been brewing since the Second Balkan War in the 1910s, and things were about to come to a boiling point. That's when a Greek soldier's dog ran away and crossed the border into Bulgaria. The soldier chased after his furry friend, but unfortunately, he was shot by Bulgarian soldiers. The incident quickly became a rallying cry for the Greeks, who saw this as an attack on their sovereignty. What did they do next? They invaded Bulgaria, of course. The Greeks occupied several villages, and were even preparing to shell the city of Petrek when the League of Nations finally stepped in and condemned their actions. An international committee negotiated a ceasefire between the two nations, but not before the misunderstanding resulted in the deaths of around 50 people. Was this war still unnecessary? Absolutely. But if I'm being honest, I'd do the same thing if I lost my dog. But if that wasn't unnecessary enough, next we have the War of Jenkins' Ear. British mariner Robert Jenkins appeared before the members of Parliament with a decomposing ear. He claimed that a Spanish Coast Guard officer had sliced it off as punishment for smuggling. Well, this was all the fuel the British needed to declare war on Spain, and the War of Jenkins' Ear was born. But let's be real. Tensions between these two nations had been brewing for a while. Territorial disputes over the border between Spanish Florida and British Georgia, as well as Spanish boarding and harassing English vessels, had been going on for years. The fighting began in late 1739 and continued for 2 years in Florida and Georgia. It was a brutal, bloody conflict, but neither side emerged as the clear victor. To make matters even crazier, the war later emerged with the more expansive War of the Austrian Succession, which wouldn't end until 1748. What started as a severed ear turned into a full-blown years-long war. Who could have imagined such a thing? Not Jenkins, that's for sure. These three wars demonstrate how easily conflicts can arise, and they serve as prime examples of how unnecessary disputes can spiral out of control. Let's all hope that we can learn from history and resolve our disputes peacefully. And if you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe and leave a like for more content just like this.